Hey, have you ever watched a TV show or a documentary and wondered how it was made, or how do people come up with these ideas, and how do they get such extreme shots and creative storylines? Well, my guest today has been making me look good for the past 10 years. He filmed, directed, edited, and produced my weekly TV show, First Century Foundations, like I said, for 10 years. And we've shot hundreds of hours together throughout the land of Israel. We got to see him participate in some pretty incredible things. And he's more than just a producer or a director. He's one of my closest and dearest friends, and his name is Chris Atkins. So Chris, welcome to the program.
Whew, I'm glad that's what you're talking about. All this stuff about ego, I thought maybe I was walking into some sort of an intervention or something. So yeah,
Well, stick around. The show's not over yet.
Oh, great.
Well, first of all, let me see. How does it feel to be on this side of the camera?
I gotta say, I'm not really comfortable with this. Yeah, people were like touching my face, and you know my personal space issues and stuff
Yes,
like that.
I know them very well.
So yeah, but no, this is pretty cool. And I mean, you guys, what you do here is amazing. You got a great crew, great team.
Yeah, we do.
It's really exciting to be on this side and not actually have to do anything, any of the behind-the-scenes stuff to make this happen today.
Yeah, well, all you have to do is be yourself. And
Okay.
I kind of wanted to people to get to know who Chris Atkins is, because I think it's very important that viewers know there are people out here, even local people, Canadians, who are making a difference in media.
Yeah.
And we're going to have a part 2 to this interview later on the show, and even Cheryl's going to come out and join us. But before we go there, I want people to get to know you, Chris Atkins, a little bit. So tell me, who is Chris Atkins? Where does this big-time producer come from?
Well, I don't know a bit of a big-time producer, but I grew up in Norfolk County. I lived between Simcoe and Delhi, if people know where that is. I'm living in Port Dover now. And yeah, I went to Simcoe Composite School and really had no idea what I wanted to do. I knew I wanted to do something different. I knew that that I was made to do something unique, but no idea, what. And I just kind of stumbled into media. You know, doing photography. Started shooting weddings. Actually, this place right here is shooting a wedding right here is what really launched me into my career. Which is
Oh, no way.
I was hired by a friend of mine to shoot her wedding here at the Crossroads Center. And and the photographer, he said, "Hey, you like doing camera work? Would you like to do some stuff for a guy named Rod Hembry?" And I was like, sure, why not? You know, they'll pay. Yeah, awesome. And I met Rod and started working on his program, which then led me to Bill Prankard and doing stuff with Bill in Arctic Russia, and I was doing his program for quite a while. And during that time, I met you, and then you really made things go crazy.
Yeah, well, we're going to go there in part 2 of our interview.
Part 2, okay.
Yeah, I know. We have a lot to share. We've done a
man.
lot of amazing things, but I just want people to get to know you a little bit. And I think what's important is your faith journey. You know, you're a Christian, but you weren't born a Christian. You weren't really raised in an overtly Christian home. So tell me, about that upbringing.
Yeah, well, my parents were really good people, and there was a time I remember we did go to church. We would go to church, but as a kid growing up, church. The only thing you really remember about a church when you're a little kid is, did I have good crayons during the sermon? Or, was I allowed to use the hymn book to draw on, that kind of stuff. So church didn't really have much of an impact on my younger life, and then we kind of went off and on, but I really didn't know much about it. And then a friend of mine in high school, he was the one that really...
How old would you have been?
I was just about 16, so I was kind of between like 15, 16, somewhere in there.
Okay.
And so this guy, Steve Straza, cool guy, he started talking to me at school. He started feeding me all this Christian heavy metal stuff, which you're familiar with some of that.
Okay, I know there's some people watching right now who are saying Christian heavy metal. Can God use something like that?
Yeah. Yeah, but yeah, you know what? It was one of those things where Steve kept giving me these tapes, and I was starting to grow my hair out really long. And, I got a guitar for Christmas, and I was going to be the next...
Now, did you bring in the photo by any chance of your long hair?
And of course not.
Oh, you happened to forget that picture, did you?
Yes, yeah. I can't remember where that was, but...
Well, you know what? Where's my camera? Over here. Listen, if you get a chance, pop over to my social media, my Facebook or Twitter page. I'm going to post a picture of this man with long hair. You are going to believe in the power of transformation.
Yeah.
Continue.
Thanks. That's great.
You're welcome.
Yeah, so anyways, he was giving me this stuff, started inviting me out to church, and I was kind of like, church, what? That's for losers,
Yeah.
And but I was listening to the music because the music was good. It was like, wow, these guys rock, these different bands. And one band, I think you've heard of them, Striper. They kind of,
I've heard that name. name before.
Yeah, I thought you had.
See, we didn't know this about each other when
No.
we met. We didn't know our salvation backgrounds. We just knew that we were both Christians in media, and then I began to hear your story. So, okay, so you're listening to this band called Stryper.
I'm listening to Stryper, and you know what? Actually, the first while, like, I loved the music, the sing, the guitar playing, everything was real intense. It was awesome. But I found that whenever they would say Jesus in the song, I'd turn it off.
Really?
I felt embarrassed. I felt, man, it sounds so cool, but I don't want anybody to hear this stuff.
Really?
Yeah, it was, and
I didn't know that.
Yeah, but it was so good, right? And it kind of came to that, you know, when you're 15, 16, you really start wondering, why are we here, that kind of stuff. And so listening to this music and then reading the lyrics back then, you know, the tapes, you'd open up the tape and then have all the lyrics.
Yeah,
in
all the
there.
lyric sheets, yeah.
And I can remember sitting out at the picnic table one night, I'd read all those lyrics. I've been spending time with my friend Steve, and we've been talking about, you know, this real deep stuff. Does God exist and that kind of stuff? Why am I here? And reading those lyrics, and that really struck me, and it was something I just couldn't shake. It was in my mind all the time, and yeah, that's what started bringing me to church. That's what led me to salvation, and it changed my life completely.
Okay, well, that was my question. How did it change you?
Well, I mean, people wouldn't have noticed an outward change because I still kept growing my hair long. I still like wearing ripped jeans.
Do you think people kind of judged you based on the way you looked, even though they didn't know the heart transformation?
Big time, big time. You know, when I first started coming to the church with long hair and ripped jeans and a Harley Davidson T-shirt and stuff like that, and there were some people in the church that really embraced me and went out of their way. I remember this one older lady in the church, this woman Opal, who she came up and just really made me feel welcome. But there was a lot of, even part of the youth that you know, they didn't really embrace me. And, I mean, it's youth, right? But there are people that thought I was on drugs. I've never done drugs. I've never been drunk. You know, I've never done any of that stuff. But people assumed from the way I looked that I must be bad. I found out that there were some youth parties that I wasn't invited to because of the way I looked. But on the inside, it wasn't so much, you know, the change for me really was starting to feel like I had a purpose, like there was something. I didn't know what, but that God did have a plan for me. That was probably the change that, you know, the biggest part of that early change. And starting to realize that, you know, maybe I'm here for more than just, you know, making a living, you know, working wherever I was working. That maybe there's something more to this life, and that I had something to contribute.
Okay, and so this transformation happens, you're at church, and a certain young woman catches your eye, and we'll have to kind of fast track the story because we only have a couple minutes in this part of the interview, and so, you know, you meet Danielle. You've been married for how long now?
We've been married 18 years.
18 years. You have two beautiful young girls.
Crazy girls, yeah. So, yeah, we just got 4 bathrooms in our house now.
Yeah.
We had a 1-bathroom house for a long time, so praise God.
Okay. To kind of prepare us for part 2 when we come back after a short break, and I really want to get into some of the adventures that you've been a part of, because God has brought you to some pretty amazing places. Some places that people consider to be absolutely outrageous and dangerous. Why would you go there? Whether that's Israel, Pakistan, Afghanistan, Iraq, to name a few, Arctic Russia, all across this country and into the U.S. When did you know that you really wanted to do this media for a living, Christian media? Well,
see, when I was a kid, I always felt like I wanted to travel. And I was always fascinated by film and movies and stuff like that. But growing up out between Simcoe and Delhi, around, you know, surrounded by tobacco farms, what do you do? Who gets into TV or movies, and how do you go about that? That just wasn't a possibility. But I knew I wanted to travel. I knew I wanted to see the world. And really, it was Bill Prankard was the one that really changed things. I'd been working for the Hembrys and doing the quick study program and the Just the Facts and the Adventures of Enoch. And when Bill asked me, would you be willing to go to Arctic Russia? And I took me a second. I'm like,
did something come on? Or?
Well, I wanted to say yes, but I'm also a little bit scared, right? Like Arctic Russia, you know, why there, and can you come back from there? And so I was intrigued, but then I had to run this by Danielle. I had to, my wife. She had to say yes. And this is great. You know this. If you really want to get out of something, just tell people. Well, if God can convince my wife. And I don't know why she said yes. Maybe she was tired of me. She said, "Yeah, go get out of here."
and off you went.
And that first trip, that was when I was really hooked. And it's like, wow. this is my life. I can't
Okay.
believe this is my life now.
Okay, well, I can believe it. I'm very, very excited to be able to share with folks all this amazing, crazy stuff you've been doing that we've been able to do.